Great to have you with us. Now, in our first story, a group of young men calling themselves Kandahar Boys in Tamale have gone to drag the chief executive officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital out of office this morning. The group is accusing the CEO of mismanaging the hospital, among other concerns regarding corrupt dealings and what they describe about as nepotism in the hospital. Let's go to the phone lines now and speak with my colleague Martina Bugri, who is at the hospital for more. Martina, what's the current situation at the Tamale Teaching Hospital?
Life is back to normal at the hospital. Patients are being to work is going on well. But briefly, around the administration, there was a bit of a halt because of the activities that had just taken place. The group of young men comprising several groups, but those who spoke to me said they were Kandahar Boys, had come to the office there and then dragged the CEO out of the office because they believed that he was running down the facility, and so they needed to take action before the facility collapsed. They accused him of setting up 7 different companies which he uses to front for supplies in the office, and genuinely those who are ready to supply the office, they are sidelined. They also accused him of colluding with the procurement officer of the hospital, and they violate the Procurement Act, and they collude, increase prices, and purchase drugs almost without following the due process.
Okay.
They also talk of issues of nepotism, disrespect for his colleagues, among others, are some of the things they say he's doing that has the tendency of running the hospital now. I questioned the guy whether they didn't respect the president's decision to put him there, so they had any issues. Why don't they follow through the appropriate channel? And he says that the president appointed Dr. Kolobila. They agree, but they also voted the president. And so if the president, the man is not performing, they equally have the right to drag him out of the office.
Martina, did they refer to any specific cases or give you any proof to back their claims?
I didn't get that.
I'm asking if they refer to any specific cases or give you any proof to back their claims.
Yes, on one of the, they said that gloves that were sold for 23 cedis now have ballooned to 70 cedis per pack. And they also said that a drug used for women who are just giving birth to stop them from bleeding, they brought the prices which were too high, and the director of pharmacy stopped it.
And did they present the invoices that these gloves
to force them to do?
Right. Martina, did they present the invoices or receipts to cover these purchases?
They said they have the evidence, and anywhere the case can go, they are ready to present these issues. They also called for Yoko to investigate the man and not just let him off the hook.
Right. So where's the CEO now? Martina, where is the CEO at the moment?
For now, we don't know exactly where he is. He was brought out of his vehicle, and he was brought out of the office. They put him into his vehicle, and then he drove off. Okay.
Have the police come to the scene?
No. These issues have always happened at the blind side of the police. They keep happening. This is not the first time. And the guy told me it will not be the last time. Once they think that somebody is not performing, they would always come to drag the person out of office.
Right. Thank you very much, Martina. Before you go, we'll be hearing some of these persons you've been speaking with.
Any CEO, this is not the first.
Yeah.
Will we say that it will be the last?
Yeah, it won't be the last, and it won't be the first time again. Because we, the youth, we go with truth. And we always make sure that truth will prevail. Any other person that the president will nominate or appoint to head this facility, and that person is not correct, I swear heaven and earth, we will come back. We will come back and sack that person. Initially, I told you that Dr. Kolobila is having 7 companies registered in his name, and he's awarding contracts for himself. You understand? He goes out and buy ordinary gloves, examination gloves, which is 23 Ghana cedis. And when he comes to the hospital, he will escalate or parachute the price to 70 Ghana cedis per packet, which is causing financial loss to the hospital. You understand? He's even talking, he's putting issue life threats, death threats to some of the staffs in the hospital. And I can give you a clear example. Asana Musa, Mohamed Asana, member of the regional communication team and a vibrant communicator for our party, who works here. Currently, the case is in the CID office, and they are investigating the matter. And there is one Dr. Techi, or Techi, I don't know his name. He is in charge of the emergency department. Currently, he's also going. Where are we going? Are we going forward, or we are going backwards? If Dr. Techi is the only, and he has served this hospital for over 12 years, because of the way Dr. Kolvila is talking to those doctors, Dr. Techi has finished everything. So we are calling on the clergy, we are calling on the chiefs to come together and plead so that Dr. Techi will remain. Although he's in the emergency department working all right, but you and I can testify to the fact that the emergency department, if you go there right now, you may go there and see someone with internal bleeding and they will leave that person for almost 4 hours to die. You understand? Common drips. This hospital is not having drips. They go out and buy drips for their patients, which shouldn't be shown.
Now, away from that, it has emerged that the Minerals Commission wrote a letter to Menzgold Company warning that its business operations are outside the remit of the license with which it operates. According to a September 2017 letter cited by Joy News, the gold trading company is only authorized to purchase from small-scale miners and export the commodity and not sell to ordinary Ghanaians. Menzgold has recently come under scrutiny after the Bank of Ghana warned Ghanaians against giving deposits to the company, which promises between 84 and 144% profit per year. Joy News editor Malik Abbas Dabo joins me in studio with the details. Good afternoon, Malik. First of all,
Daniel.
What do we know about the license with which Menzgold operates?
Well, what we do know is that this license was on the basis of an application that Menzgold made to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Now, an agreement was entered between the ministry, which was headed then by Neo Samuels, and then the chief executive of Menzgold, which is Nanapia Mensah.
So when was this?
And this was August 22nd, 2016. This is when the agreement was entered into, and it was to last for 3 years. The application that Menzgold made was for them to buy gold and export same. Simply just buy gold and export. And application was granted, and the license was issued authorizing them to buy gold. But there was a caveat. They were to buy the gold from persons holding small licenses or small scale mining licenses or licenses to engage in small scale mining. It was those persons that Menzgold was supposed to buy this gold from, and then it was supposed to export them. This was the remit of the license that was given them.
Okay, so let's talk about what Menzgold is doing now. We've been engaging with some persons who do business with them, customers. And what are we learning?
Well, what we do know now that Menzgold does is, to quote their own lawyer, that what they are engaging is commodity trading.
Okay.
And commodity trading, simply what they do is Menzgold has a subsidiary, which is Brew Marketing Company Limited. So you go to Brew Marketing Company Limited, you buy the gold, and then you come and deposit the gold with Menzgold, and then you go away. They will give you monthly returns on how much you have purchased the gold. So, for example, if you were to go to Brew Marketing and you bought gold worth 400,000 Ghana cedis, okay, and you sent this amount of gold to Menzgold and deposited it with them, every month Menzgold would give you 10% or 12%, because 400,000 was 12% of the amount of money you spent buying the gold, i.e. the 400,000. So they give you 12% every month. If you were to do, and they do a limited period of 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, so if you did it for 12 months, you would take 10% of the 400,000 that you bought the gold for the 12 months that you would have done it. And afterwards,
we're talking about a 12% for 400,000.
Absolutely. Yeah. And afterwards, you are at liberty to go and take your principal capital and you walk away. Or if you want to roll it over again, then you go ahead and do that.
Great. So those are the operations being done now. And
Absolutely.
the Minerals Commission has written a letter to Menzgold to that effect.
Yes. So what the Mineral Commission has said in this letter that we have, and this is a letter which was written in September last year,
okay, and
the crux of the contents of this letter is simply that they had conversations with Menzgold following complaints about the nature of their business. So they had conversations with them, and the Minerals Commission pointed out that if we look at the license that you were granted, the license does not permit you to do the kinds of things things that you are doing. The license does not permit you to sell gold locally or to buy gold from anybody locally. But the information we have, and this is the Mineral Commission talking, is that you are selling gold locally. In fact, the statement said that the licenses ask you to buy gold, but only from specific people.
Okay.
Now you are buying gold from individuals. These individuals are buying the gold from your subsidiary, but these individuals are not licensed as required by the license that you were given, because the license that you were given requires that you should buy from only certified agents.
Okay.
You are buying gold from ordinary citizens who themselves are buying the gold from institutions set by you, and this is in clear violation of the license that you were granted. So Minerals Commission says you should cease operations of this nature. Otherwise, and this was in September last year, otherwise we will ask the Lands and Natural Resources Minister to revoke your license. We know that that has not happened. We know that they have continued to operate against what the threats and the warnings that the Minerals Commission issued last year.
Yeah, so Malik, just so we are clear, the Minerals Commission's letter to Menzgold was to tell them quite simply that you are authorized to buy the gold locally and then export and that is send them overseas.
Absolutely.
But now you're buying the gold locally and then you're selling them to Ghanaians.
And you are buying them from people that are not certified to sell gold to you, i.e. ordinary citizens.
Yeah. And because of that, what you're doing is not covered by your license.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much, Malik, for joining us. Let's stay within the financial sector now. Now, it's been 1 year this week since Capital and UT banks were taken over by the Bank of Ghana. More than 700 workers of the two defunct companies are yet to receive their benefits, leaving many in debt and poverty while they face stigma from working with the failed bank. In the following report, my colleague Justice Bedu followed a former manager of Capital Bank who now grills pork after he lost his job.
This time last year, Raymond was a deputy manager at the now defunct Capital Bank, until the bank blew up its working capital, leaving it bankrupt. New owners of the bank had promised workers like Raymond job security. That did not happen. He was sacked, and 1 year on, he's yet to be paid his benefits.
I'm not the type of person who wants to be idle. So I find it difficult to cope with the current situation now. Cooking has been one of my passion and growing up. So I started what we call the Rat Kitchen, where I supply foods to people at financial institutions. So we come up with a menu, you choose, and then normally too I do more of in grilling during the weekend for people at functions.
This is the Bank of Ghana headquarters, from where the fate of Capital and UT Bank was decided in August of 2017. 1 year on, 5 more banks have collapsed. With a scandal that has hit the sector in the last 2 weeks, no one knows who the central bank will be going after next. And that has left thousands of people working in the banking sector sitting on tenterhooks. UT and Capital Bank had more than 1,200 workers. Most of them have been sacked since the bank's collapse, but many of them, afraid of victimization by their old employers and prospective ones, have been forced into silence. I'm going to meet Ernestina Jesse, not her real name though, one of them who has agreed to speak to me. She has asked that I keep her identity secret.
A lot of people, especially the ladies, are scared to talk. The person who is supposed to protect you, the ordinary staff, is a friend to this big man who has taken bad decisions leading to the collapse of this bank, rendering you jobless. So you have to be careful. So a lot of people are afraid because of the kind of backing our directors appear to have.
Ernestina, a single mother of one, worked with Capital Bank for 7 years, including the days when it was just a savings and loans company. Now she says she cannot even afford to pay her hospital bills.
I haven't been lazy. For 10 years, I have not stayed home for a full month without going to work. So God knows that I am not lazy. So if I have put in 10 years of my youth to work, and through no fault of mine, my company has collapsed, I believe God has seen my plight and will make a way.
There are people who really have reduced, they had, they started a career, they had a certain vision, they're probably doing very well, and suddenly they've lost everything. How we deal with this matter is absolutely critical for how institutions are going to develop in this country. Because if what the reports that have come out are true, then we are on the verge of creating an oligarchy in this country. Somebody steals a chicken and he's in remand for he stays in remand for 3 years, 4 years. I mean, and somebody's accused of taking over 15% of our national income. This should go to court, and all of us should see that a trial, the state has prosecuted this thoroughly.
Back at the reception, dancing has gone deep into the night. But people like Ernestina and Raymond, living in uncertainty of what tomorrow may bring, continue to wait that what is due them is paid, and those responsible for bringing their years of toil to a crashing end will pay the price. Justice Paidu, Joy News, Accra.
That was Justice Bedu's story there. Let's go on the phone lines and speak with Dr. Kwabena Donkor, Member of Parliament for Pru. He's a member of the Employment Committee of Parliament. Dr. Donkor, thank you for joining us. Now, the impact of these layoffs obviously will be far-reaching on many lives. Government has been making efforts over the years to reduce unemployment. Dr. Donkor, what are your thoughts on this matter?
Well, I believe the Ghanaian state has been lackadaisical in its approach to the biggest security threat of our time, which is youth unemployment. We have looked at it in bits and pieces, and therefore there is no comprehensive approach. For that reason, the impact has been negligible. This has been exacerbated by the near meltdown of the banking sector, as we have experienced in recent times. And it sends wrong signals on job security. It sends wrong signals on the regulation of our financial services. The biggest threat, other than youth unemployment, is the reduction of duty by Bank of Ghana. But Bank of Ghana sat down for this situation to get to a near meltdown. Bank of Ghana, as the regulator, has responsibility, both legal and fiduciary, to ensure a sane banking sector. But Bank of Ghana was busy making money out of the mess in the form of liquidity support. For Capital Bank alone, over the period of liquidity support, Bank of Ghana made over 250 million cedis in interest charges, and therefore I am not surprised there wasn't the desire to get the situation arrested as early as possible. If the banking supervision, which is a key function of Bank of Ghana, if banking supervision had been effectively done, the signals would have been picked up far earlier and the situation arrested. But Bank of Ghana has behaved as a political institution rather than as a regulator. Bank of Ghana owes thousands of workers who have lost their jobs and an apology. And yet no jobs have been lost at Bank of Ghana. That department and their managers, their bosses, must all lose their job for the reelection of duty.
Now, Dr. Donko, the concern of these workers who have lost their jobs now is that, particularly for those in UT and Capital Bank, they say some exit packages were promised them before they were let go by the now GCB Bank. As a member of the Employment Committee of Parliament, has this come to your notice, and what can you do to help them?
Well, I'm speaking in my personal capacity and not as a member of the committee and as a ranking member as that. In my personal capacity, I think Bank of Ghana must make provision to pay these workers. Whatever they are due will not be bigger than what Bank of Ghana needs from the mess. And therefore, Bank of Ghana must provide the liquidators money to pay at least the severance of workers. Later, when they dispose of the assets, when they liquidate the assets of the entity, Bank of Ghana can recoup their money.
Will you be using your high office to demand that the bank does this? Would you be using your high office as ranking member to demand officially through a question, an urgent question on the floor or whichever other means that the Bank of Ghana does this?
Indeed, informally, there has been a discussion that when Parliament resumes, the committees on employment and finance must invite the governor to appear before the committee and then answer questions as to why Bank of Ghana slept on the job.
So this is something that the committees of employment and finance are planning to do?
Some of us, yes, some of us on the committee are planning to ask the leadership of the committees to invite the governor when Parliament resumes.
Right. So should we expect the leader?
In the meantime, civil society and all others must come out on the side of justice. Justice behooves that workers who have lost their jobs for no fault of theirs must be paid their severance pay. Bank of Ghana, that is responsible with the management of the bank, should suffer the consequences and not workers.
Right. Dr. Adonko, finally, so before you go, should the good people of Ghana and these 700 workers who have lost their job expect to see the governor of the Bank of Ghana in Parliament or before the committees when Parliament resumes answering these questions?
We will make the request. We will make the request for the governor to appear. But it is up to the leadership of the committees to accept our request. We will definitely make the request.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwabena Donko, for obliging us this afternoon. You're still watching Joy News Today. Now, still to come, President Akufo-Addo has described critics of the free SHS policy as Pharisees whose ill perception of the program will not stop its successful implementation. Details after this. With us on Joy News Today. Now, one police officer is in critical condition and 3 others are receiving treatment at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after they were shot by a gunman. The gunman, suspected to be an armed robber, opened fire on the officers who had attempted to arrest him. The incident happened at Zamrama Line near Sukura here in Accra. Ernest Kojomenu has the rest of the story.
2 civilians, a 24-year-old man who was shot in the thigh and a 42-year-old woman who broke her leg during the incident. According to reports, the officer, upon receiving a tip-off, went to the area to arrest a suspected criminal. Greater Accra Region Police Commander DCOP Alex Mensah, who led a team of officers to visit the police officers, say the 3 are responding to treatment.
What we heard was that during their patrols, they were called to attend to an emergency situation at Zamrama Line. Immediately they got there, they tried to find out what was happening. Then a group of people just started shooting at them. So 4 of our men were shot, and the people who shot them just took off. Because they were shot and they were lying down, they couldn't take any concrete action, and they had to be transported to the Kolebu Hospital. As we speak, 4 of them are still at the Kolebu Hospital, One is in a very critical condition, and the 3 has been treated and they are responding positively.
The officers were initially successful in grabbing the suspected criminal, whose identity has been withheld, but fell to gunshots of the attacker. They were shot in the chest, abdomen, thigh, and ribs. Police officials are awaiting official reports from consultants at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital on the extent of injuries.
Meanwhile, Director of Operations, Chief Superintendent Kwesi Fori says the service is working towards equipping personnel with bulletproof vests. You're still watching Joy News today. I am Daniel Daz. We'll be bringing you more stories on that. But now let's hear the Director of Operations of Police, Kwesi Fori.
In the chest, he got injured and was sent to the hospital. Yes, as part of our accoutrement, for personnel, we do supply them aside their weapons and all the facilities that they need in patrolling, including bulletproof. We have, but it's not, enough for all of them. We agree. And
so these officers were not in the bulletproof vests.
Internally we are looking at it, but I cannot say that they are without, because.
But as an ordinary person, if a police officer was shot in the chest and it affected him, he's in intensive care. In fact, he had to undergo some surgery as well.
Oh yes.
Then I would want to believe that he was not wearing a bulletproof vest.
That we are very grateful to the doctors, for the kind of work that they did, bringing all the specialists and making sure that they stabilize him.
But that also suggests to me, as an ordinary person, that he was not in a bulletproof vest. As an ordinary
person.
Yes.
Yeah, we may look at it. I think, as I said, we are looking at the circumstances and events, developments, happenings, and we may come to a conclusion as to what exactly happened. But let me remind you that not all officers have that vest.
Because you don't have enough.
We don't have enough. So that one is a fact. If they were to detect it earlier, they would have given them the appropriate force response.
So have you made any arrests?
By subduing them.
Have you made any
arrests?
We
are investigating. We are trying to put our lookout procedures into order. And I tell you, we're going to get them. We have the capacity and the strength. We have the capacity and the strength to take them.
Let's stay with the story and join News' Matilda Wemega is currently at the hospital assessing the latest on the matter. Matilda, we understand you've been speaking with the Interior Minister on this matter. Right, Matilda, if you can hear me, we understand you've been speaking with the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, on this particular matter.
So basically, Daniel, he has been visiting these officers who were shot yesterday, but thankfully we are told that 3 of them were discharged yesterday. One who was in critical condition yesterday, his condition has been stabilized. And you remember that 2 civilians were also caught in the crossfire. One has been discharged, and then the female, the woman who was on admission, she is still responding to treatment. So at the moment, we have 2 of them on the police officer and the woman who was caught up in the shootout. But then we have been the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, who tells us that moving forward, the police is going to do what it takes in order to protect its men, especially those who are on the because given the narrative of how this whole thing happened, they received a distress call yesterday, and they are surprised they were met with this. Your call has been put on hold. Please.
Unfortunately, we lost Matilda. When Meg got there, we'll be bringing you that update during the day. Now, moving from there, President Akufo-Addo has described critics of the free SHS policy as Pharisees whose ill perceptions of the program will not stop its successful implementation. According to the president, an additional 180,000 students will benefit from the free senior high school program this year. He was addressing the chiefs and people of Mpasaso in the Hafano South District at a groundbreaking ceremony to begin construction of a 19-kilometer Rioso-Mpasaso road when he made the remark. Ohiming Teria, who was with the president, has come through with this report.
President Akufo-Addo is in the Ashanti region on a 4-day working tour. He chastised his critics for shooting down the free senior high school policy at the introductory level. According to him, the free senior high school has come to stay.
Yeah, me can't say me ba be no. Ebi no se chinchina me di atrase Ghana for. Me dada Ghana for. Me to be ye. Samokai.
A lot of people argue that I will not do what I promised Ghanaians. They believe I'm deceiving Ghanaians and can't fulfill my promises. Do you remember?
Mofra 90,000 and about school. I fear September, I go school, secondary school.
Have I not delivered on the free senior high school policy? 90,000 students who have not been to secondary school before were able to go to school last year, September. This year, the figure has increased to 180,000. I said that I will ensure every child in this country will be given the opportunity to go to school. That is what I'm working on. Today, 80,000 students. Some people claim it is not good. But let me tell you this.
Teacher Fonso Benya, a bread, any Mofrano so to me,
I will not do that today, not tomorrow. The measures being taken is for the ultimate to interact with the students.
We are going to make sure it is a success. It will be some one about Pharisee for one about Bekaka, what a catch us, what a free on the
He maintains implementation of the free senior high school, which he says.
So watching Joy News today, I am Daniel Daze. Odilia Ntiamwa comes your way with business.